Well, it's Sunday, and that can only mean one thing. It's Wicked Women. Because we all need a bit of Wicked on a Sunday. I don't know about you, but my week could do with a bit of excitement. So, hey, we're here for you tonight. And I know we've kept you waiting, and I can't possibly tell you why, because we were all having giggles just before the show. It was just like, no, we can't go live yet. We can't go live yet. But anyway, it is Sunday. Can you believe it? The 2nd of August. Sunday, the 2nd of August. I'm coming to you live from South London, and wherever you're watching us from, whether it's the UK, Canada, America, whenever you're watching us, welcome. We hope you come and join us more. Now, I have a little friend to play with tonight because we had so much fun last week. And I just had to bring him back in. And I was like, no, darling, you've got to come back and play. So here she is, my little friend Sparkle. Hello, darling.
To play with.
Hello, darling.
Honestly, the giggles we were having beforehand, I've not cooled down yet. I'm sat here doing this, trying to cool myself down.
Thank God I'm wearing red. That's all I'm saying, because, you know, it'll blend in. But literally, I've got the phone here and oh my God, we had so much. I was just saying we were a bit late because we were having a bit of giggles, and Paul was like, oh my God.
My fault. I'm sorry.
Yes. No, I think it was a bit of both. Anyway, how are you? How are you doing, darling?
Very well, my love. Very well. Was out in the sun again the other day, as you could probably tell.
Yeah. I think you were prostrate over my car, weren't you?
You know, I think I might have been.
I think you were bent over my car.
And there is no way I would want to be.
Doing lots of movement like this. And I was going, you do the top. No, you do the bottom. I'll do the top. So we had a laugh, didn't we?
Yeah. Not? Forcing me on my hands and knees once again. But,
I know. And I didn't even have the whip this time, or the leather trap.
I know. It's that was disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. I was looking forward to it.
But it was hot. In my defense, it was hot. And I was like, I can't do that.
It was so hot, I actually got away with spraying you with a pressure washer.
No, she didn't just spray me once. This woman went around with the hose going, spraying me. And I was like, really? Really? She's like, I think I missed a bit. Oh my God.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I missed the Impala. I don't know how I did that.
Yeah. Well, she was kind of washing her car, then she was kind of washing mine, and then the Impala got in right at the end. You know, we just kind of went, yeah, that'll do.
By the end of the day, obviously I'm using a power washer. So by the end of the day, my forearms are going, excuse me.
I know. I'm going to need my asthma pump in a minute.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Seriously, I'm choking it. We had a great show last week. Where Do You Truly Belong? And it's had a really good review, and I'm so happy because if not, you can just put your Captain Jack Sparrow on, because that'll work, babe.
That would work.
With some
Welcome back to Wicked Women. We'll get serious now, because I know there's lots of people, but welcome. It's so nice to see you. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, and it's a pleasure to come back on. And obviously, it's nice to meet Sparky, because we had Mark last time, didn't we? So, so it's nice to see a different host lineup, shall we say? But yeah, I'm very
and Michael, right? It was Michael.
Sorry, not Mark. Michael.
Michael had so many questions for you, and you were kind of like, "Oh my God!"
I was like a deer in headlights. Like, what?
Yeah, he was like very, very impressed. Very impressed. So, people, I'm going to. Unusual Things is your YouTube channel, and as we looked at, you go round to dead people's graves, don't you, Paul?
Yeah, they don't invite me around when they're alive, so I have to wait till they die, and then I go around to their graves and just talk about their lives that way. But it's all done
you
very
do it with so much respect, and you do such a wonderful story of their life. And you know, I've learned things from you that I didn't know about so many celebs, and including was it Rod? What was the one I was talking to you about? You met his wife recently.
Roy Hudd.
Yeah, she was lovely. Such a respectful video that was. And so Sparky, what do you know about Paul? Have I filled in the gaps about him?
I don't know a whole lot. I'm not gonna lie. I did do a little bit of a Google beforehand because obviously. Yeah, I know, right? You don't know what's on that internet, I tell you.
Bad things.
Many things. So I know a little bit, but I don't know a whole lot. I'm not gonna lie.
So fill us in, Paul. For those that didn't see you a couple of months ago, fill us in.
Oh, what? And just generally what I do with Unusual Things. Okay.
Yeah.
The channel's been going about 4 years now. As we know, YouTube is a very competitive market. It's very fast. And with my channel in particular, I had other channels beforehand. I've had a paranormal channel, but as we all know, the market is so flooded on there. And then I started doing a little bit of urban exploring because I like that sort of thing as well. Again, massive amounts of channels. I was like, I'm not going to get anywhere here. So I did watch a lot of channels in America where they visit celebrities' graves and tell their stories and victims of crime and all that sort of stuff. And I looked around the UK, and at the time, back 4 years ago, there was only one other channel doing it. And he was a great filmmaker, but he was never on camera. So he would visit their grave, pay my respects, and that's it really. I mean, my videos are only about 15 minutes long, average. Some of them are a little bit shorter if I don't know a lot about that person, or the victims of crime ones sometimes can be a lot longer because you're going into a little bit more depth about the actual crime and the story and trying to give people some real context about what's actually happened. Yes, I've been doing it 4 years. I was very fortunate. Like I say, at that time, there was only one other, there's a lot of channels now doing it, but there was only one other channel at the time and mine just elevated. I was very fortunate. The algorithm picked me up and threw me up in the air. And within a year, I think I had about 40,000 subscribers, which, as we all know on YouTube, is you're very lucky if you get that sort of. And I've got an amazing audience. They're lovely people. They're very loyal. You know, they all come on when I put premieres out. It's like a little, we call it Unusual Family because they all just talk. We all sort of know each other now, you know. But I sort of stay out of the conversation. I'll say hello to everyone, but I let them talk amongst themselves because that's their community. You know, I'm sort of there presenting my video and so forth. So, but I will answer any questions. Sorry, it's my phone. I will answer any questions, of course, if people ask me anything. So I'm very sort of personable, and I'm very, you know, I'm at arm's length. They can reach me as well, sort of thing, you know.
Well, yeah, I did say to Paul, I need something to show them, and so Paul said, well, you know, I've got my little banner, which kind of gives an idea. So I'm going to just play this. It's about 40 seconds. Let's have a look. Wow. Ooh. Hang on a second. I was almost going to play it again just for that ending. Unusual things. If you're standing like that, I was like, that is cool. That's very cool.
My friend made that title for me. My friend really called cool. Terry, who's a musician, and he wrote the music for me, and he got some of my clips and he edited it all together. And he said to me, I'll do it for free because he started like a production company now. And yeah, so I love it. It's great. But I've cut it down now. I've had a lot of people saying 40 seconds. You think 40 seconds was the end of their life, you know. Oh, it takes too long to bloody start. So I've cut my intro down now.
Fast forward it then.
I know, exactly.
Do you know what I mean?
But I have those titles at the end now, and then like a 10-second one at the start. So they still get it, but yeah.
The thing is, like, you know, sometimes you just have to wait, Sparky, don't you, for something good. 40 seconds of your life is not really a long time.
I know that little tagline has helped and does work.
Well, Sparky's very good at all kinds of making things. So she could actually make you something with that on and you could probably sell it. I think I found it. And I know all about original because, you know, you come along, you're the original one. Next thing you know, you've got people coming up behind you with copies, and it really annoys you because you're like, God damn it, I paid a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I've worked hard on that.
Yeah, exactly. So I get it. Now, with your show, Unusual Things, you obviously have visited a lot of places, and not just the UK. You've gone abroad, haven't you, as well?
I have, yeah. I've been to Boston. I've been to Salem. I've been to Northern Ireland as well. I know it's not as far. I've been to Holland. Been to Germany. So whilst I was on holiday, I visited some of these places. But yeah, Boston and Salem, I went out there because I wanted to do the Salem witch trials. It's something that's always been of an interest to me. And wow, the feeling in that place is I'm a spiritual person anyway. Most people on my channel know that. I'm not religious in any way, shape, or form, but I'm very spiritual. I'm open to energy and all that sort of thing. And Salem's just got that feeling. You're there and you just pick up on the energy. Like,
I'm so jealous because I would move to Salem tomorrow. I would be at home there. Tell me, I mean, I know loads of people go there because it's where the witch trials, sadly. But have you been to the other one, the Pendle, where the Pendle witches were?
I have, but I haven't actually been to the site. I've been to, is it Clitheroe Castle that's nearby? I've been there, but again, you know, I was investigating paranormal stuff. I've done a total of over like 20 years in my life, but it's one place I've never been to, apart from Clitheroe Castle. But I've been sort of near on the outskirts. I've never actually been up it, but I'd like to. It's on my to-do list at some point.
I think, you know, it's when people go to Salem, because obviously people don't, well, they actually are. I don't know whether they share it in Salem because I've not been there, but the Salem witch trials came on from Pendle witch trials because obviously it was that original, I can't pronounce that book, Malacasy, something, whatever, but that book was both the Pendle and it was at Salem witch trials. And any good witch knows, you know, that book was written by a guy, a monk who actually obviously hated women so badly, and on that book, and eventually then on to King James, King James the First of England, carried on with his own witch trials. And Matthew Hopkins, have you found Matthew Hopkins at all? Have you looked for him?
No, I haven't looked for him, to be honest with you. So there's one to put on my little
Witch Finder General. Absolutely, you have to find him.
Yeah, I will do. I think one of I think there's a channel subsequently. I think that a young lady, she's very good. She's been going a couple of years now. I can't remember her name, but I think she did a video on that as well. So I'm going to have a look and see whether or not what she found and whether it's worth doing, you know. And if it is, then I could do it as a follow up to the Salem sort of thing as well and add it into the same sort of category.
When you stand by someone's grave, whether they are rich, whatever, historic or whatever, do you feel, I mean, obviously our cemeteries are full of energy, of course they are, but do you feel an energy coming from that particular grave?
I do when I do the victims of crime one, especially the children's ones, I feel but again, I'm very empathic, so I feel a lot of sadness and it hits you really hard. When I did the Philpott children, the 6 children that were in the house that he set fire to, man, I put my camera down afterwards and I sat there sobbing my heart out, because you're looking at these 6 kids' graves, but then you feel it as well. And like, it just hit me so hard. It was piddling down with rain, and I just stopped and I sat on the side and I was like, boom, because it just took everything I had out of me. The same with the Soham murders as well, where those 2 girls were murdered, Holly and Jessica. They've torn the house down now, but oh my days, but not by their grave, but in that area, the darkest energy, I felt more there than what I did up doing Hindley's and Brady's. I felt more at the Soham, like it felt more darker to me. Again, I don't know the full ins and outs of what that man did, and I don't really want to. I know enough. But yeah, that was a nasty place. But also, we went to, my friend Lee came with me. We went to Brady's house, which again has been torn down, and that had a horrible dark energy to it as well.
Just for those that are watching, Myra Hindley and Ian Brady were infamous child killers in the 60s. And you can see her face everywhere you look if you type it in, Myra Hindley, Ian Brady. And they still have one missing, don't they? I think it's
Keith Bennett.
The little boy.
Yeah, Keith Bennett. And sadly, his mother passed away a few years ago, or many years ago now, but she obviously never got to know. And that was her last time. And again, when my friend Lee and I went there, because there's a massive, almost like monument, not monument, what's the word I'm looking for? Like something respectful towards Keith on the side of the road, apparently where he got taken off. And I didn't feel any bad or negative energy there at all but again, I don't always, it's not something, I'm not psychic or a medium or anything. I don't always experience it, but I do pick it up quite a lot in certain situations, and I didn't at that time. So I don't know, it's a difficult one to answer.
Do you think you'll ever go, I don't know if you have, so correct me if I'm wrong, have you ever done Rose and Fred West, where that area is?
No, that's on my to-do list though, because that again will be a lot of research, because I would like to try and get to the graves of the victims. Whenever I do true crime ones, my sole purpose is to try and give the victim a voice.
Absolutely.
I never want to make it about the perpetrator. I never want to glorify them. And I get crap sometimes from people saying, you're just trying to make money out of, or get clicks out of visiting kids' graves. No, I'm trying to give them a voice after they're gone and try to remember them. And my answer to those people is, do you ever write to the BBC or ITV and Sky? Because they always glorify the bloody perpetrator. Yes. I said, do you write to them and kick off that they're saying, oh, Brady, this and that, or Ian Huntley? No, because they don't want to give the voice to the young person or the person that's gone, because that doesn't give them the views or the clicks. Whereas I'm not interested in that. I'm there to tell a story. If it gets lots of views, and if it helps educate people, or if it helps someone have an understanding of something better, or allows us all to remember that victim, that's what I'm about. That's what I would rather do it for. I
think you that's a very lovely thing to say, because it is about giving them a voice. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing it or someone else is doing it. It's how you put it across and how you are respectful with that. For me, like, I remember, I think I talked about when I saw is it Derek Bentley's grave, which is not far from me up the road. He was the guy with mental health issues that was wrongly hung by the British government back in the 60s, and of course now he's been, as Ruth Ellis, Ruth Ellis has finally been given a pardon. She should never have been hung at all. Where is she buried? Where's Ruth Ellis now?
Can't remember off the top of my head, but it's where they had Liam's funeral. That he's not buried there. The bloke from One Direction. I can't remember what it's called now. Is it near? I think it's near Hertfordshire. This is my problem. I go to so many places.
Yeah,
I forget the names of the churches, the cemetery. People go, "What's your favourite cemetery?" And I'm like, But if you said to me, if you put me in a cemetery and said, right, so and so's buried here, and you've been here before, I'll go and find that grave straight away. You ask me what the cemetery name is, that bloody clue, Jeff. Because I go into autopilot. I get there, I look for the cemetery name, obviously get my directions. Once I'm there, I do it on the intro. I'm today at St Mary's, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Then I'm focused on the actual work itself, get out, drive away. And it's not until I'm editing again, I go, oh yeah, St Mary's or whatever. And then I'll forget it again. It's just because I've done over 450 videos. I don't have the best memory, to be honest.
I was just going to say it's a lot to remember.
Do you hope that someday when you're no longer here, someone's standing by your grave giving you a damn good video, Paul?
Yeah, I hope so. I don't care. I would probably have people come and piss on my grave because they don't like what I've done. No, but do you know what I mean? Because they don't like what I've done. You'll get one or two in life. You know what people are like. But hopefully I'll have more going, hey, he didn't do too bad. He tried to remember people and things like that. As long as I get that, I'll be happy. I'd like my logo on my grave.
That'd be cool.
I think I found him.
Cool. I think I found him literally just written there. There he is.
He's here. I think he's here. we've got as a title Brookwood and Beyond because I want to look at some of your American visits that you've done as well, and also you mentioned, was it Norway you went to, or Holland?
Yes, I went to Holland. I did last year. It was like a family Christmas holiday.
Yeah,
but I was disappearing off into the churches with my camera. You know, my family like, where's he? Oh, there he is again. You know, so
yeah,
as you do. And when I went to Norway, we was on a cruise, and we just so happened on one day to stop at this beautiful church with a cemetery. Of course, I'd never been into a Norwegian church or a cemetery or anything before, so I was fascinated. But again, family were off sightseeing. I was off up the hill, straight to the church, filming. The videos are on my channel. So that was nice. It's always good to get an international perspective as well. And I did some filming in Turkey, but I got chased out by the security guards. I didn't realize you're not allowed to film in their cemeteries. I'm not going to stereotype. He had a big moustache and was very shouty. Oh,
get out.
Yeah, like one of them. So I was like hiding my camera thinking, I don't want to get nicked in Turkey. So I just got out pretty quick.
Yeah.
So with the, Brookwood, let's look at that, because we talked about the train, that, it's quite haunted. And I hate using that word, but I'm going to use it because some people don't like it, but I actually like the word active, haunted, whatever. But it's quite active, isn't it, Brookwood? It's had many sightings there, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's had quite a few people having experiences there, and even myself when I was there, because I've made 2 videos so far. I've got to go back to do a 3rd one, but
that's huge.
On the first one, I know it's a massive place. It really is. I was talking about the train on the first one, and there was a sound in the distance which could almost be like a train. Now, I was by an active track, fair enough, but at the time I was very, observant to make sure, and I couldn't see anything at all. So it was a bit bizarre. It was one of those sort of ones where it made me think a little bit, and I was like, okay, have I caught some audio here, or is my mind playing? As a paranormal investigator or an ex-paranormal investigator, we all go through those questions, don't we?
Oh yeah.
Is it me? Am I tired? Have I seen something out the corner of my eye, my peripheral? And I'm a logical thinker like that. I like to make sure I take out every single variable that I physically and mentally can. And then if I'm still questioning, I'm like, okay, it might be. So yeah, I had that sort of experience with the train track there. But yeah, it's a huge place.
Do you Sparky, obviously, like we kept trying to get there and take some photographs, didn't we, Sparky? We didn't get there, sadly, but you know it quite well, don't you?
I do. So I actually used to live in Bisley, which is about 5 minutes away from there, if that. I used to do a lot of endurance walking, so I have been into Brookwood a few times, just to have a wander around. The train station there was my closest train station in order to get into London. So I would end up at the train station quite often. And of course, it's a through route to Basingstoke as well. Yeah. And it was quite interesting seeing that this has popped up. And I'm like, oh, I know Brookwood. This is great.
It's such a big place, isn't it? It's huge.
It's enormous.
It is.
And of course,
I never realized how big it was, and I was just still walking around there going, there's more and there's more, and you have to literally, it is a long day if you go to Brookwood.
Yes.
And I was saying that to Sparky, and it's like, what got me was the military graves more than anything.
Every time.
Because they're from all nations, not just British. There was Canadian, American, Irish, wherever, French, they're all German, they're whatever. I mean, everybody's there, like and it's just so much respectful. It's kept so respectful, isn't it? They've really taken care of it.
Yeah. It's I went there originally about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, and I didn't film, but I went to the military part then. And my 2 recent parts that I've just done and filmed, I didn't cover the military part, and that's my intention when I go back for my 3rd part, is to show people how big it is. And like you say, how many, I think on the 2nd part I just did recently, I caught a little bit of the Serbian graveyard, because that's like almost separate, and then you go around the other side, then you've got the other large part. So when I go back next time, I'm going to make it predominantly about that, and obviously show any other bits that I've missed, because I do get a lot of people asking about military graves on the channel as well, because there's a lot of military connection within their families and grandparents and so forth. So my demographics, bless them, are like in the sort of, I'd say 45 plus range. So I don't, you know, I have to try and cater within that region, if that makes sense. So, you know, you'll see a lot of the 70s and 80s old comics, and I'll do modern day people, of course, if they pass away young, sadly. But my demographic seems to be that 45, 50 plus age group, which is good, because, you know, they'll watch the videos longer. They don't just go, oh, well, yeah, I'm too impatient. I'll watch 10 seconds and then turn it off.
Yeah.
They're all good.
So,
they all watch longer, which is great.
Give me some of the names of the people who are buried at Brookwood.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Now you're throwing me under the bus.
Because I know one who's supposed to be buried there. Isn't he very famous, supposed to be buried there?
Who, sorry?
Is that Freddie Mercury? Was supposed to be there, wasn't he?
He's supposed to be, but he's not there.
No, he was cremated. Again, as names, but and there's also a crematorium area in London that had his plaque, but his plaque got stolen, and then they put another one there under his real name. And a funeral director, a friend of mine, was going to enable me to get in there. He knew the staff, but it's just never came off, because Freddie Mercury would be a great one to cover. But I think it's near where his house is. Is it Kensington he lived? I don't know. I don't really know London that well.
He is up near Kensington, I believe.
Yeah. And it's
wasn't he supposed to be buried, but they moved him or something?
Dodi Fayad, they did. He was buried there.
Yeah.
He was buried in Brookwood, and then they took him out and put him in Al Fayad's back garden or his shop or somewhere. I don't know. They put him somewhere. When I say the shop, I mean the gardens. They put him somewhere in the, you know, within the Al Fayad grounds, just because of the publicity that was coming in. But yeah, I think in terms of famous people, the ones I've done there have been predominantly people, but you're going to hate me because I can't remember their bloody names, but it's been people like, there's a guy that's written a lot of Hammer horror films and things like that. So I've done those sort of ones in there. I think the Body Snatcher guy was in there as well. The Doctor, is it Kurt? No, names. Paul. I can't remember. You know,
we have done 450, so I can't blame you.
I know, and I'm terrible at remembering things. Because, like I say, my brain just goes, focus on that one, forget it. Next, because I'm always trying to forward think and forward plan what I'm doing. I have to let those ones go, otherwise I'll drive myself bloody insane. My viewers probably know more than what I do.
I'm always stunned by Victorian graves, because there's so much work gone into them, and obviously it was like the more money you had, you know, you had a bigger grave, because it shows, look, you know, look how much money we had, and hopefully that would see you through to heaven or wherever you were going. And because they go right down, you know, there's sometimes a crypt, isn't there, underneath as well. There's a cemetery near me, and I think you should go and visit. It's called Bandon Hill. And it's quite old. It's got quite a lot of old graves there, and there's also a church. Mark and I have talked about this, St Mary's Church in Beddington, and there is quite some amazing. There was a church called St Mary's Church. Next door was you got me going now, Crewe Manor, and there was a fire at Crewe Manor, and it actually belonged to the crews, and one of them was on the Mary Rose that sunk at. Was it Portsmouth? And there was a fire there, and it was an orphanage, and a lot of children died. And you know, there's plaques for that, and there's one at, I'm sure it's the one, if I'm right, at Croydon Crematorium, which was where there was a plane crash, and there was kids and teachers in it. And it'd be really interesting for you to sort of come down and have a look at some of them, because there's some really interesting stories.
Yeah, definitely. I covered one like that in Brookwood, actually, funnily enough. There's a mass grave where they all, and I didn't know at the time, I'm just walking around talking about it, and I said to the viewers, and they're great, you know, if I'm doing a video or something, I go, who's this? And they're like amazing on the internet really quick. They come back and go, oh, that was a teacher that died in a plane crash, and there's all the kids with him and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow. So there's some that I go to sometimes that I don't even know are there, you know, and it's only when I'm walking around looking, and I'll film it because I think that's got to have some significance or some importance. I mean, everyone's life's important, but it's got to have some sort of significance somewhere because of what's written there, or there's so many names and so forth. But you're talking about old and Victorian graves and things. When I did Putney Vale recently, I went to Ismay's from the old Titanic, from the White Star, and that's a big grave. You know, he's got literally secluded in the corner by himself. Putney Vale, it's just up the A3, and just before you get into London, it's on the right hand side. But you can't miss it.
They're not far from me, not far.
No. Massive cemetery, massive.
I've said to Sparky, we have to go to Highgate because I have not been to Highgate yet, and it's so full of like beautiful stuff. And there was this thing about vampires, like some people that they thought were vampires that were buried, and with like, you know, their lips stuck.
Teeth.
And have you seen some graves that are supposed to be vampirish?
I haven't, because I've been to Highgate, but I haven't covered the vampire story. I'm going to, though. That's on my to-do list for later this year, because I went to Highgate about 4 years ago. I think it's when I first started, because there's so many famous graves in there. I was just running around doing everyone. But I want to go back there now. I'm a little bit more seasoned at what I do, so to speak. And I can take my time, and that vampire story is really interesting. So I want to go in and do a bit more research on it and go and tell that, and try and give a little bit of an eerie video and all that sort of thing to, you know, to make the viewers happy with it as well. But yeah, I love Highgate. I think it's an
interesting concept, isn't it? That people thought they were vampires, Sparky, and they buried them in such a way so that they couldn't get out. I mean, back then there was so much superstition.
I've seen the ones with the iron gates over the top of them, to kind of stop a zombie apocalypse, I guess that might be.
And body snatchers, because they used to
body snatchers
bodies,
as well.
they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Brookwood, Burke and Hare, the ones that used to steal the bodies. How weird's that? Just popped in my head.
There
The doctor that used to do that. Yeah, there you go.
We're helping you out here, don't worry.
It's like a mouse on the wheel, just having a couple of hours to get round a little bit, you know, getting him fired up a little bit.
Tell us about Burke and Hare, because I actually dated someone years ago who was related to Hare.
Well, you're probably better off telling me than what.
Well, I couldn't tell you anything because they didn't know much about them apart from that they were related to them. So, you know. I
haven't done the research on it yet. I will do, because I want to go back, because at the time when I filmed it, again, it was, for me, it was a bit of a throwaway comment. I went, because what's good about Brookwood is they have QR codes there. So some of the graves, you go up and ping it, and it tells you some information, who they are. So I was walking around, and I just showed the camera, and I went to the viewers, there you go, QR code, check it out. And then people come back and go, that's all to do with Burke and Hare and the doctor. And I was like, but because I hadn't done the research on it, I didn't know the information to tell the story. And I don't ever want to do it sort of like half-heartedly. I want to make sure that I know the story full. You know, I got a rough idea of what they used to do. Still dig up bodies and steal them and use them.
Well, I can give you just a snippet. William Burke.
I was going to say, I just looked at something as well.
And William Hare
tell me.
were 19th century Irish immigrants in Edinburgh, Scotland, who committed 16 murders and sold fresh corpses, which they did back then for medical dissection. Began in 1827 when Hare sold a dead lodger's body to uncover and get back unpaid rent. They lured vulnerable people to a lodging house, made them drunk and smothered them to leave no marks. A technique later called burking. I must remember that. And then they sold the bodies to...
Why do you need to remember that?
Yeah, what's going on with you?
Excuse me.
I'm going to burk you.
I'm burking you. And then they sold the bodies to prominent anatomist, Dr. Robert Knox, for use in medical lectures. So did he know, I wonder, that he was being sold people that they killed? I wonder. I don't know.
I reckon he did. I reckon in those days, everyone knew what they were up to. That a bit backhand and stuff. And
it would be one that he probably had to pretend that he didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, when their crimes were discovered during 1828, Knox was implicated, but was not asked to give evidence. Ooh. Knox was popularly considered just as guilty. Riots took place near his house, and he found it increasingly difficult to work in London. And in Edinburgh, rather.
It was really popular. They used to, like, crowds would come in and watch, post-mortems. You know, they wanted to see. I mean, the Victorians were very macabre. You know, they were so into, like, the dead, the dying, ghosts, all kinds. But it says here that Hare turned King's evidence for immunity and was released without trial.
Grass.
Where Paul Burke was, he was found guilty, and he was hanged and publicly dissected. Poor bugger. I mean, he was like, "That's it, we're doing it."
By hair.
Good for the goose, What's good for the goose, good for the gander.
I think they both should have. To be honest, they both should have actually faced the noose. Let's be honest.
It's a really interesting story. Next time I got there, I will definitely cover that one.
Have you been to France and seen the guillotine and looked at any of that stories yet?
No, I want to, because I want to go to Paris. I want to cover Jim Morrison's. That's definitely been on my to-do list for a long time. There's a lot in France I'd like to do, but I'm just going to wait for things to calm down a little bit out there, because people with cameras aren't very popular at the moment, so tend to get attacked a lot. So I'm just sort of like being very mindful where I film. I know I shouldn't have to, but especially in other countries and stuff, you've got to have your wits about you at the moment. So I'm sort of letting France settle if it does, see what happens, and then I'll look at things in the future.
Sparky, have you when you go to graveyards and stuff, whether you're just passing or at a funeral or something, do you find that you are, because for me it's about, when you're walking past, you read the story, don't you, of somebody. I mean, and it's like whether that's little children or it's like a whole family. And I always think that, the grave, and nowadays people cannot afford to be buried so much. So there's so many more, cremations.
No, completely. I mean, when I was walking around Brookwood, prime example, it was so interesting to see, even in death, you can still see the split of the classes, which is incredible. Because obviously, with the way that Brookwood worked, you had the train that would come in. Not only would you have first, second, and third class for the mourners, but you had first, second, and third class for the coffins as well, which was insane. And they had separate carriages for each of them. Mainly because there was someone who just said, well, I wouldn't want this person to be in the same carriage, dead or not, as a pauper. So it's insane. So that's one of the reasons why the trains were so long coming into Brookwood. And even as you're wandering around in Brookwood, you can see the difference in classes with the headstones, where they're buried, specific plots. I think Knox was plot 100, I believe he is. Yes, he is. And even then, he still has a plot in Brookwood, which blows my mind considering as to what he had been a part of. Not only, obviously, you have the monuments and such, which are in there, the memorials, all of the different kind of just the way that they decided to lay it out in the first place as well, where you had the north-south divide. I think south was non-Christian, I believe, if my memory is serving me correctly. And then you had the north side of the road, which were obviously mainly Christians. And I believe the north side of the road also has the military area as well, I think. Again, this is coming mainly from memory, because of having lived in that area. But no, it's incredible just seeing how different everything is. And obviously some people have their stories, some people just have names, some people don't even have that. And I think it's incredible just seeing the differences within the headstones as well.
I think it's shocking, isn't it, Paul, that they had like the poor people, they weren't allowed, even in death, they're not allowed to be with people.
They're
who
not
had
allowed
more
the same
money.
dignity, are they?
No.
But it goes to show as well, because we all say you can't take your money with you, which you can't physically, but some relative can still make sure that you're put below or above someone else if they've got the finances to enable you to be in that position. And I think, I mean, even to this day, the whole British class system, I won't go off on one, but it's still there. It's rife. It's just mad, so it's I won't go off on one, but when you look back at history, you sort of understood it because people were educated or they weren't, and you had the sort of middle of the road that were life people, that I would say, that got their experiences from life, just being out on the streets, doing this, that, and the other, and sort of mixing with the right people. But modern times, sort of like 80s plus, you'd have thought that most people would have a good basic general education, so that the class system would at least be a little bit more fairer. But it's always going to be there, I think, with the Brits.
What do you find about, we're talking about Christian burials and stuff, but different religions have different, obviously, burials, and you must see lots of different, like Catholic, Greek, Orthodox, all kinds. What is the difference of these, that you've seen in some of these different religions with their graves?
Well, I've seen, like you say, I've seen probably pretty much all of them. I'd say I can't think of any that I haven't seen. I've seen Jewish segments within cemeteries. I've seen Muslim segment. I've seen Christian, of course. And I know that different religions have different speeds at which they would like to bury their loved ones. So and again, they are sort of segregated. People have their own areas. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. That's not for me to say. That's up to the cemetery, I suppose, how they have their layout. Because I'm assuming that you probably, again, I don't know a lot about religion because I'm not religious, but I'm assuming that certain people have certain things that they stick to, so they put certain religions together. I'm imagining that's why they're like that. But yeah, I'd say I've seen all sorts of different things, and I would say that, like, in terms of headstones and things, like the Roman Gypsies, their headstones are amazing. They must spend so much money, and they put so much love and care into their loved ones, and the headstones and the pictures on it, astronomical. And you think, wow, that must cost a book. But it shows that person was really loved and really well thought of. But that doesn't take away from, like, say, for instance, old George, who loses his wife and he can't afford that extravagant headstone, but he's still there, like, every week paying his respects to his wife that he's lost. And that headstone to him might not mean much, or he might not be able to afford one, but he knows in his heart what they had. And I think that, so sometimes having the grand scale of headstones and things like that can be great for aesthetics, good to see, especially if you're a large family and there's a little bit of, not politics behind it, but a little bit of, we got to do this the best we can. But I don't think that takes away anything from someone that can't afford that and they just have their basic headstone, because that person still meant as much to the person that's living, that's gone to see them, I think. So yeah, headstones are quite deceitful sometimes, but I'm the same as you. I walk around and I look, and if I catch that one thing, I think, oh, I wonder what happened in this person's life. What's their story? Because it's, as we all know, it's never the start and the end date. It's always that line in between, isn't it?
And because, like, so many graveyards in Britain have been, unfortunately, they've put things on them that they shouldn't do, like housing and so many, and so many old graves as well. And I was stalking your page today, as I do, looking for evidence about you, Paul. And I was looking at younger Paul, when was it you decided, because you were always interested in Halloween, you were always interested in sort of like the gothic, the dark side, which I was, you know, I was drawn to that. And I think when you're drawn to something like that, that I often think that's, maybe it's past life stuff or whatever, but we're drawn to it. Like we can't explain the reason why we're drawn to witchcraft, why we're drawn to vampires, why we're drawn to this. It's just something that calls to us. Was this a particular thing that you felt like, you know, growing up that you were intrigued in, or when did this start in you?
Yeah, when basically I grew up next to a cemetery, literally next door to a cemetery. My mum still lives there now, bless her. But as a kid, I used to go in the cemetery a lot, and I used to go in there and I used to feed the crows. I used to go in there, I used to sit on my own, and I had friends and things, but I wouldn't say I was a loner per se growing up, but I liked my own company, you know.
Sure.
But now in hindsight, I've been diagnosed with ADHD. My brain was always busy as a kid, and that calmed me down. It slowed me down, and I've always loved animals anyway. So when I was a kid, I used to go in there and I used to predominantly feed the crows because they'd come over. And I used to sit there, but then I just sort of used to look at the graves, and it just got me intrigued. I used to think, I wonder what that person did in their life, and I wonder what that person. So even as a young age, before I even knew it, I was starting to get an interest. As I was sort of that was about 6 or 7 years old, but back then you were safe. You know, I lived next door to the cemetery. You were quite safe to go in there, and
You were, yeah.
you know, it wasn't an issue. My mum could always see me from my bedroom window. She'd shout out when it gets dark, "Get here, you!" You know, so I was within a hearing range. But also my brother, who's 3 years older than me, he was obsessed with that Halloween film, Michael Myers, and he got me into it, you know. So he was obsessed with horror. So I sort of started having this influence on me of, I love being in the cemetery. Oh, I like horror films now as well. So I started getting that sort of, not in a weird way. And then when I sort of at a bit more age, I watched Dawn of the Dead, and that was one of my favorite horror films. So even now as an adult, you know, I've got them on the bloody wall behind me. Do you know what I mean? And it just sort of grew from there, really. And I think throughout my whole life, I did see a ghost when I was a kid, and it scared the shit out of me. It really did. My mum and dad's house used to be stairs up the middle, door either side, 2 bedrooms, outside toilet back in the 70s. And one night as a kid, I opened the door and there was an old lady just standing there doing that to me. And I've never shit myself so much in my life. Under the bed covers, I literally stayed there till the morning till my mum came in. And I can still see that image as clear as day in my head now. So for many years, I was scared of ghosts because that petrified me. And I wanted nothing to do with them. I was like, ah.
What does she look like?
She was old. She looked, this is going to sound so bloody blasé and so stereotypical, but she just looked very pale, grayish, you know, and almost like a dressing gown sort of thing on. Nothing else in particular, just like as you would see a generic old lady back then, how you'd imagine them. And she wasn't evil or anything, but she was just doing that, like, come here sort of thing. No fucking way I'm going there, mate. Do you know what I mean? Boom, shut the door, under the bed. And then I hated spirits and ghosts, so I'd still go into the cemetery and feed the crows, but I wanted nothing to do with that. And then when I was about 19, I was in the Air Force, and I was walking around a big sort of barrack hangar one night, and I kept hearing this like tapping from inside. And back then, the lads used to go in there with girls and things like that. And I thought, I wonder who's in there, one of my mates or whatever. So I went running in there. There was absolutely no one in there. And I just heard this and the tapping was getting louder and louder. It was like footsteps running up to me. And I was like, okay, that's a bit strange. And then once I left the Air Force, my intrigueness into paranormal started and all that sort of stuff. I've always loved horror films as well. So whenever I've been anywhere, no matter where in my life, if I see a cemetery or a churchyard, I'll always walk through. Never been frightened of them, never sort of scared me or anything like that. I think because I felt that comfort from a young age. And that's why I'm obsessed with. I got crows tattooed all over me because I went through a little bit of a bad time as a kid. And it was, to me, it was almost like they were a little bit of a protector. So that's why I've got a big one on my back, you know, because to me that's my sort of spirit animal, if you like. That's who I use as a protectors. So yeah, so my sort of life in terms of grave, gothic, dark, horror has sort of just carried on from there, really. And I think as I've got older, I've taken more of an, not in a weird way, but more of an interest in that sort of thing. I just love weird things that I used to be, obviously, because I was in the forces for a little while, only a couple of years, but I don't see myself as a conformist no more. I like to try and do things that are a little bit different, or just to keep my brain occupied, you know, in a positive way. But I couldn't do like a 9 to 5, sat in an office all day and then come home and just nah.
We have all that in common. I mean, Sparky, I love the macabre. I mean, there's something about it, you know. I've always wanted to go to that crypt in Italy where they've got, I think it's Sicily, where you walk in and they've got the bodies propped up, and people would actually pay to be buried there in their finery and their clothes, and you can go in and see them as they were, you know, propped up, and how they were left, and how they've mummified and everything. And I think
how they've matured over the years.
Well, yeah, the smell might have, but the death has always been, it either scares you, which it does me, believe it or not. I'm terrified of death, or it doesn't. And I think for me, the macabre was like, I loved Halloween as a kid. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from. I just remember, like, I was going to celebrate Halloween. My mum was like, "Where have you learnt this from? We haven't taught you." And I was just drawn to Halloween, and it's still my favorite holiday now. It's still my favorite time. But like, you know, I was saying with Sparky the other day, we're both into that sort of dark gothic thing, aren't we, really, Sparky? We're both sort of interested in that.
Yeah. I mean, mine started later, because when I was a kid, it was very much, no, we don't do Halloween. That's it, end of. And it wasn't until I was in Germany, probably 11 or 12, that's when Halloween started to become a thing, because all of the army kids would end up going around and doing Halloween, and there were certain people on our little military estate who would do the house up and so on. So that was sort of my first look into it, I guess. And then as I've got older, one of my other friends is very much into it as well. And I don't know how, but I always end up with friends who absolutely adore Halloween and are just very kind of spooky people, and it's great. And I guess that just kind of fits me as well at this point. I don't necessarily think of myself as spooky, I guess. But I do like a lot of what there is about Halloween and that kind of thing. I don't do scary films.
No, I don't.
I don't do scary films. But that's because my imagination is so wired that if I watch something, all of a sudden it becomes real, and I can't sleep for days. And it's not great because I don't sleep as it is. So yeah, it's all good fun. But it's still sort of a new kind of thing for me in a way. But I think part of that is because of being an empath, and I always have been. And no matter what I do, where I go, I can feel everything around me. So, I mean, a big thing for me, I might have mentioned it before, when I was in Germany, we went to Bergen-Belsen, which was one of the concentration camps. And we walked in, and as soon as I walked in, I went, I don't like this. Mum said, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't like it. I can feel it. Everything feels heavy. Everything feels wrong. I don't like it. Don't like it at all. And then about 3 months later, school went, oh, we're going. And I went, no, I'm not. And they said, what do you mean? I said, I'm not going back there. I am not stepping foot in there again. The feeling that I had just walking down those paths, I can't do it. Which is why sometimes I struggle with cemeteries as well. Because I'll wander in, but as soon as I start feeling something, I just think, I can't do it. stop.
I lived near when I grew up, I lived near a cemetery, and we would walk through it as a shortcut to get home. And it was a beautiful cemetery, Bandon Hill. And it's got some amazing, the angels and everything with it on the statues and everything like that.
Can't do angels. It's Doctor Who. Can't do
exactly, no blink. My mum had an incident when we were walking through this particular day, and I always remember it. Like, I was chatting away as you do as a kid, and all of a sudden she went like that, and I went, "Oh my God," and it was just for a minute she just stopped, and then I was like, "Mum, are you okay?" And she was like, "I'm fine." And I never forgot it. And then years later, I said, "Do you remember, what was all that about that day?" And she said, "I was walking through there and you were chatting away to me." And she said, "The next thing I felt like this stab, and she said, I wasn't with you. I actually saw a sword going into my side, and I was and I was like," and she said, and I was like looking at you, weren't there. You were not there. It was just from it, whether it's a time slip, whether it was whatever it was, because we've talked about this before, our ghosts of time slip and etc. And she said, I remember it, and she said, I remember the pain going into my side and feeling the sword going in. And it's an interesting thing, isn't it, that when we're walking around, and I always remember the film, Patrick Swayze was Ghost, and he's walking around and he's walking through seeing people's funerals, and he's seeing spirits wave to him and walking straight into their graves and their stones. So I think that when I was young, growing up next to this graveyard, I was okay with it. But then as I got older, I started getting, hang on, the EBs, over it, because there were a couple occasions where I mean, as you said, you're young, your brain feels like you're being watched, but I was never one of those people that would go and I was very respectful. I wasn't like, let's go down the graveyard, I would never do that. And there were back in the 70s, back in the 70s and early 80s, there were reports of people going and digging up and grave robberies, still doing grave robberies, which is so disrespectful. I mean, I just can't even, so I think that it's interesting when you're walking around them and you're going to Highgate and Putney and Brookland and everything like that, that are they watching you? Are they watching you but not waving at you?
Yeah. Woo. In a way, I would be totally cool if they were, because, and I don't mean this in a big headed way or anything, but I'm so confident in the way that I treat and respect them. I'm so happy with the way I deliver my work that I hope that if the spirits are watching me or looking at me, that they're satisfied I'm there for the right reasons, to tell a story, and to look at ones that you might not see and, I wonder what's happened there. I mean, if I was going in there and being a complete and utter tool, then yeah, you get what you sow basically in life, don't you? So I mean, I've always been asked, do you ever think or worry that things would follow you home? And I'm like, well, I hope not, because why would they want to come home with me? I've got room. If they want a spare bedroom, they can sit in it. But
Yeah,
it's a case of I don't feel that I do anything or warrant that sort of negativity that I would cause that. I mean, sometimes, yeah, you may get something that latches onto you, and then I'd like to think again that I've got enough experience from my paranormal work over the years that I could white sage and do the right sort of cleansing and all that sort of thing to help move it on. And I believe also a lot of it is your intention. I'm a great believer in this. Whatever you intend in life, if I went in there with bad energy and bad intentions, then yeah, whatever comes flying my way, come at full force. But if I go in there with the right intentions to tell a story, and I respect my environment whilst I'm there, then I believe I've just left alone for those reasons. But yeah, I mean, I'm in them practically every week. So you could say that I'm in a position where I could attract something, or something could go and latch on. Touch wood,
especially
though.
if you're an empath. I mean, as a clairvoyant and an empath, I have to be really careful that I don't attach, because I know of other clairvoyants that they've just been gone shopping and they've seen something and it's gone, oh, you recognize me, you see me, and they attach themselves. And you have to be very careful that you clear that. And indeed, my own home, like Sparky's had episodes here, this flat is active, not very often, but when I first moved in, it was very, very active. And it was one of the things that drew me to it, because sometimes I felt like I could shut this down. Sometimes you need to just come in and clear the energy and shut it down. So the older it was, it didn't bother me. I'd rather live in a really old building where there's history and perhaps activity than I would in a new building. And I remember when I was, I think I've told the story before, but I don't know if you know, Paul, but years ago, I had another little basset hound called Henry. And my ex-partner, Julian, he was walking him. And I was in the kitchen making a cup of tea and dressing gown on, getting ready for bed. And he rang me and he said, you've got to get out the flat. And I said, what? He goes, get out the flat now. And I said, what, you running? He goes, I'm running. I said, you're not dragging the dog. He said, no, I've got him under my arm and I'm running. And I said, why? He said, just get out. Meet me at the at the gate. Thinking, well, I'm in my dressing gown, but okay. So I went out and he came back and he was like, where he'd been running with the dog. And he just dropped the dog and he ran upstairs. He ran in here and I was like, what the hell's wrong? He goes, I have just seen somebody in the bedroom walking around, and he said, staring at me through the glass, and he said, you're in the house on your own. I'm thinking somebody's got in. And he said, but then I go in there and it's gone. And even as I'm talking about it, I can feel the energy starting to change in this flat, because the one thing I will tell you about this flat, the moment you start talking about them, they like coming in. Because I'm a clairvoyant, I have to be careful that I don't talk about them a lot, because they are, Wendy's working tonight. Brilliant. We're coming. But Sparky's had,
and they're all very active when I'm there as well. Yes. Very active. I don't know if I'm inadvertently, accidentally saying, hey, come on in, But I remember that one, there's been a few times, but the one that really, really sticks in my mind is Henry. When I was in bed in the spare room, you were upstairs, we were texting each other, and the plaque fell off the wall. And that's his. And we both kind of went, what was that? Because we were messaging about him.
Yeah, because it was nailed in, right? So
I remember opening the door and going, I'm sending you a picture. This is what has just happened. It was mad. It was mad. And even like laying on that sofa, they've decided we've got a video of orbs flying over me, and I'm like,
although Mark would say that orbs are not, but definitely there is a shape of some kind going over her while she's asleep. And and I had I should say an ex-boyfriend of mine who was, when Huckleberry was very young, was sleeping with him downstairs, and I'd gone to bed early, I wasn't feeling well, and he's like, go and get a good night's sleep, I'll stay with Huckleberry. And then I heard this noise, like and I was like, oh my god. And we've got cameras in all the rooms here, and I could see on the camera he was having a go. He was having a go at something, and I said, "Are you okay? What's going on?" He goes, "I'll tell you, I'm not sleeping for the rest of the night." And I said, "Why? What's going on?" He said, "I was sitting here with Huckleberry." He said, and someone came up to me. He said, it was winter time, so all the windows are shut. He said, someone come up to me and went right in my ear, and he said, I felt them do it, and I was like. And then he had another episode when he was asleep upstairs, and he woke up and he saw a figure beside the bed moving towards him, and he screamed, and that was not scary. So this place has had its and that's just some of them. That's just some of them. Mark still says this is one of the only places he's come, and that he has not liked certain feelings about it. Now, I actually think the flat's got a really nice feeling now. Most people love it here. They think it's really cozy. But Paul, you need to come here. You might have You might have some
It's
activity.
floating on the ceiling like Lionel Richie.
I
What a feeling.
True, it's true. But I mean, Inderday is a bit scary, and Huckleberry was young, and so he's never. But lately, definitely lately, he has responded to activity. In fact, he's been frightened by it. So much so that I've had to calm him down because he was very scared about something that was obviously right beside me at the bed. And he was like, you can see on the camera, he's looking at, and he's like growling, and he's back, he's trying to go near it, but he's really scared. And so I think it's an interesting that when I go to, being a clairvoyant, and I shut myself down because I have to. And you being an empath, do you shut yourself down before you go there or not?
Sometimes I do, yeah. If I get there and I feel it's a bit heavy or a bit wishy-washy or whatever, I will. I mean, I used to sit many years ago, to sit in a lot of development circles, and I started because, like I say, when I saw that spirit as a kid, it frightened me of spirits, like, ghosts and things like that, and I just completely shut myself off. But many moons ago, probably about 18 years ago, actually, 2008, I used to sit in development circles, and on my days, I used to pick up so much then, and I thought, do I really want this in my life? And I was like, no, I don't want it. So I completely went, no, thank you. But obviously the empathic stuff, you can't help. It's still sort of, it just sneaks in, doesn't it? But yeah, the other side of it, I was like, I don't want to be having that in my brain's too hectic as it is. I couldn't deal with can't deal with the living's crap coming in. Do you know what I mean? Half the time. So you imagine like trying to, so I was sitting in development circles and things were going really well. I did a couple of sage work. I've stood up and done bloody readings and stuff. But sometimes it was just too weird for me because I was like, I don't understand it really. I don't know. And then I used to question myself, am I making this shit up? Is this me just saying things and it being right? And then I thought, no, what are the odds of that? Because I used to get things as a thought process. Bing, say that, say that, say that. Or an image of someone or something. Do this, do that, say that. And I'd do it. And then people go, yeah, yeah. And I'm like, because I didn't understand where it really come from. And I had many different mediums that would teach and try and help me develop, but I just got to a point where I was like, nah, my life's too hectic. I can't be doing with that as well. So
it is a lot of responsibility. That's for
it
sure.
is, and I thought, if that was my main commitment, then yes, I would, because I know what I'm like. I'd throw myself into it, but I know I get drained very quickly. And especially, like I say, like we were saying earlier on with Sparky as well, like with ADHD, my brain runs a million miles an hour as it is. If I was trying to switch off from that as well, I don't know where I'd draw the line with myself. So I was like, nah. But I gave it a go because, again, it's something that I was really intrigued about. And I don't know about you, but one thing I like in life is if I'm intrigued with something, I'll go and try it. I'm like,
yeah,
what have I got to lose, and because I'd had all those little things happen throughout my life, my younger days, that sort of, and I wasn't sort of scared of it as such anymore. Then I was like, "Ooh, I'm just going to go dip my toe into that and see what happens." But it was a bit sort of too much, too quick, sort of thing. So,
do you believe in reincarnation, Paul?
I believe our energy moves on. Yes. I believe our soul of who we are, our essence, I believe that moves on. Whether or not that's reborn into another person, I'm not sure. However, I do. It's weird because I've had loads of deja vus, which people say are past lives. You go, well, I've been here before. I've done that. I've met you before. I've met, and don't you? You just pick up on people's energy.
Someone's familiar. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I don't know whether I would class it as reincarnation. I don't know. It's a hard one that I still struggle with myself. But I'm a massive believer that your soul as you, Wendy, and you, Sparky, and me as mine, that energy goes somewhere and probably has another life of some sort, whether it's as an animal, human, alien, whatever. I don't know, but I believe it has maybe a sideways step, and we're all in the same sort of existence still. I don't know.
Because obviously, like when I say come back, we've talked obviously about unusual things, but also wanted to talk more about you, because you as a person, you're very interesting. Not only are you, doing the unusual things and marrying people and things like that,
Not like a constant stream of them. I haven't had 10 weddings,
Multiple.
multiple.
Oh, memory, the 8 fire, memory.
Exactly. But also you have another sort of little gig on the side going down, and I'm probably going to get like a mark for this, but I have to play it because it's so cool.
Don't show them my OnlyFans.
Oh, go on.
Many fans. I have 2 of them. So
no, my OnlyFans.
We know all about it. But
it's right, viewers. I haven't got an OnlyFans account. I'm joking.
Do you know what they're looking for?
I'm gonna have to make one now.
Yeah,
I'm sure there'd be a lot of takers. I'm going to show you this little clip here, which Paul.
Sorry.
She almost missed that. I want to point out she almost missed that. That was a delayed reaction from you.
I heard it. I was like, did Paul really just say that? Oh my god! Right, this is Paul. Paul's. I need to let this move us a bit. Hang on, let me just.
Oh, is this my embarrassing one?
No. I just need to bring this up so we can.
Oh, I know what this is.
We can give you a bit of a more of a. Okay, this is Paul's. This is Paul's. I want to say.
This is my fun life.
Also ego, and he's available for all kind of ladies' nights. Now we know that YouTube is probably going to go right. We're gonna short that bit out. But honestly,
don't get demonetized.
You've got quite a few fantasies going on there. Johnny Depp, Captain Jack Sparrow. Tell me about how this began, because we want to hear.
Because it's one of my stupid ideas. Well, where do I start with? Right, okay. I've always been a massive Johnny Depp fan. Okay, I've always liked go as back far as 21 Jump Street in the early 90s, and of course he was in Friday the 13th, sorry, A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
And I used to, as a young man, you sort of look up to people, certain people, whether it's a musician or an actor. And I used to look up to Johnny Depp and Keanu Reeves. I thought they had that cool image. When I left the Air Force, I grew my hair when I had it. I grew it quite long. I still wear earrings now as an old man. But even then, I used to have earrings. I used to wear lots of accessories and things like that. And I always went for that sort of male, not quite goth look, but just a little bit different sort of look. And so anyway, I still to this day follow both of their careers and see how they're doing with it. I love watching their films, and especially with Johnny Depp, because he's even though he's a leading man, he's a very good character actor. You can put him in any character and he'd be like that, boom, boom, boom. From Edward Scissorhands to Scrooge this year, he's going to be doing Scrooge.
I'm so excited about Scrooge. I'm telling you.
Yeah. I know.
I've seen a lot on the socials about Scrooge.
It looks great.
And may I just say, was always Team Johnny.
Yeah, Team Johnny.
I was always Team Johnny, always.
So I was like, right, I've been to a couple of Comic Cons recently, and I thought, I want to do this. I want to come dressed up as someone, because they're having so much fun and just a good laugh. And I thought, who suits my personality? Who do I like? What character could I get into? Love the Pirates of the Caribbean films. I've always watched them, 800 times. I am someone that wears, you've probably seen, I wear a lot of accessories, I wear a lot of jewelries. I did copy a JD tattoo, got a crow, but it's a crow. So I love crows. So I was like, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And I was like, yeah, stuff it. So this year, since January, I started buying little bits of the costume, unbeknown to me how much it spent. Oh my,
Yes.
Where's all the rum? Yeah, that's me all the rum. The costume,
does end up being very expensive, yeah.
Oh my days, like the hat was $200, one buckle was $100. I've spent nearly £1,000 on this bloody costume, with the jacket, the boots, everything. So that's all my savings gone. But for my first sort of Comic Con Portsmouth one, where I had like a basic costume, to my most recent one, was I felt so different in character as well. And it was great. The most recent one was the Hastings. It was a pirate weekend. And there was a few other Captain Sparrows, of course. You're always going to get that. He's a popular character. But I was in my element because we're just down this road. We're outside some bars. We're getting merry, having a laugh. And people were just asking for their photos with you. And it was a boiling hot day. So that wig, you know, you're melting underneath. And I just played up to it. I was just like, right, I'm having some of this. So I was getting involved with people, photos, you know, arms out, like doing all the accent and all that sort of stuff, getting merry whilst I'm doing it. I had a bloody good time. I was like, yeah, I need to do some more of that. So, yeah, I haven't really set myself up to do any sort of formal stuff. However, I've set my Instagram account up on it. So, and I've said on there, people want to hire a Jack Sparrow for events, I would happily do it. And then the other day I was thinking maybe I could do some weddings as Jack Sparrow. I don't know how much business that would get though.
That would be hilarious.
I could conduct weddings. Imagine that.
There would be some people who would be very into that. That would be a thing.
Yeah, so I might start sort of chucking that out into the public domain and see if I get told to go and get into a padded cell or something. I don't know. But,
do you feel like Johnny coming through your veins when you know, you're in costume? Like, do you feel like Captain Jack? You know, do you feel like that you can right?
Yeah, I take on the character massively. Like there was a comical thing I saw the other day, and it was like a piss take, and it said, "Why do all Captain Jack cosplayers never drop their character?" They all talk, you know, they all want to just, I don't, when the conversation's right with other people, I'll just you know, I have a chat with them. But if you're out in the public, they want a photo, people want that part of the character as well as the character. So I'll embrace it. And what have you ever thought of doing pantomimes? I did do a show once back in 2000. It wasn't a pantomime. In 2018. Again, one of my many ADHD moments, I went and done some acting for a little while. Paul was promising
the only thing that helps me.
Yeah, on a night out. Imagine me dressed up on a night out. Yeah, so I have done a show before. It was a musical, funnily enough, and there was 3 singers because it was like I won't talk about it too long, so it goes on forever. But it was almost like a Bee Gees sort of replica, but they worked in a mechanics garage, and one guy wanted to be a singer, and he had like a mullet and his 2 mates would like taking the piss out of him basically, and I was one of the 2 mates, but originally I didn't have the part. There was 3 singers, proper singers, and one of them pulled out, and I literally had my appendix out, and I was messaging the director from hospital going, you know that singer's pulled out? And he went, yeah. I went, I can sing. And he went, can you? And I went, yes.
Because of course, that's what you do. You always say yes, whether you can or not. You say yes.
I wasn't a lead singer or anything. So, and then I came back. I sort of auditioned again with the director, and he went, "Yeah, you can do it." I was like, "Yeah, I'll have that." So, yeah, so that's my little step into acting. But I think, again, because I've worked in radio for God knows how many years, I like performing, you know. But I'm also, people never get this about me, I'm also a real hermit and a real introvert. I won't say I'm a schizo or anything, but I have sort of 2 sides to me. The performer, who's the performer, and then the man that sits at home and is quiet and he doesn't want people to him.
So we are known as extroverted introverts. That's what we are. Yeah. Okay. Because I'm exactly the same.
Wow. Oh my days. There's me and Wendy's car.
I found it. And it's like, This would have been, let
That's
me go back
Basingstoke.
in time.
23.
It was when what was his name?
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Jeffrey Dean Morgan was there.
Yeah.
And this is when I met you. This is when I met you, because obviously Mark was with me and you guys were chatting. And you were like, here's another little picture here. Look, here we go.
Oh my days.
This is the year before I went to Basingstoke.
Wow.
Now this is the days when, and we were very lucky that year, because there were so many people from Supernatural there. It was like being sport rotten. And thank you to Basingstoke Comic Con for having so many of them there. It was awesome. And Paul sent me an amazing video of him talking to, I think you were talking to Lucifer, Mark Pellegrino, when he was signing my car. I have a video, yes. I think, of you doing that. But when I was going through that today, I was like, I have got to put that picture up, because literally I got to let's take the photograph off now. There was you, and that was some years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh my God, have I got tight jeans on there?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't want to say, but
oh my days, what am I wearing them for?
Someone says, who is this?
Hi Paul, give my thing a shout out. Right. Oh, Ed, I love Ed. Ed's got his own channel, right? And Ed's got an amazing setup. You think I've got a few likes there. He's got like a band in his living room. He's got drums, guitar, microphone, TVs everywhere. And he just lip syncs and mimes to music videos. And it's brilliant. Everyone should watch Ed. He gets pissed up. He has his mates round, and they just all pretend to play drums and guitars and stuff. Ed, love your channel, mate. Definitely worth
What's his channel called?
Ed 2097. I think that's it. Just see that. Yeah.
On YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. Go and watch some of his videos, because they're brilliant. It's
Ed, we're all going to have to check you out now. Someone said Ed is hilarious.
Yeah, yes, he is. He's got a great channel. Sorry, Ed, I only just saw that, mate.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like on YouTube and TikTok and all kinds of places now, people are just like, I saw a woman today on TikTok, and she's just like getting money left, right, and center, or people sending her things. She's doing nothing, just kind of like, oh, I could just by your picture, I can tell you the name of your dog, or I can tell you your star sign. And I'm thinking, what? Is this, there seems to be a market for this thing, doesn't it now?
It's mad. It is, because and it's so easy for some, especially on TikTok. They, because it's a younger demographic looking at it. If you put something on there that's worthwhile to a younger viewer, they'll just pile into it, and you'll get masses of views. Now, I don't necessarily. I go on TikTok, but I use it for me, for messing about. I do a lot of lip syncing on there just because I'm bored at home 9 times out of 10. But
I've seen them.
to take the piss out of myself a bit, yeah. So, but then I've got my unusual things on TikTok, and I just put like a picture on. Oh, here's tonight's video. I don't go on there and show my videos, because I earn money from YouTube. I do it on there because I sort of know that structure and I understand it now. But I could probably make a lot more if I did it on TikTok. But there's, again, that market's been flooded with people doing graves. It's crazy, which fair play to them. All good luck to them. But it's just
a lot of cleaning graves as well. There seems to be quite a lot. So I want to look at two things we talked about just before we came on air. One is Jack the Ripper, because we were talking about Jack the Ripper. Everybody talks about Jack the Ripper. It's a story that I've always been drawn to. Jack the Ripper. And I actually have a conversation with someone who wrote a book. Who actually, there's two sides. There's the American, I think there's an American book, and then there's the British book, and they kind of contradict each other of who he really was. But in today's life of, they found the spot of blood recently, didn't they, on one of the victims' costumes, or, wherever they've got them now. I don't know where they've done, but their clothing, and they were like, they reckon they've got DNA proof of who he could be if it was. Anyone could,
Exactly, and a few people have made grave videos. They've gone to this guy's grave, who they've announced is the DNA sample of. Can't remember his name. I can't remember if it's a Polish name or something like that. But yeah, a few YouTubers have gone and done that. Again, it's one of those things that I know that anyone puts a video out about Jack the Ripper gets masses of views, and I don't. Again, I'm not blowing my own smoke up my own ass. I'm not doubting I would, but there's been so many channels that have done it recently. I just want to let it die down a little bit. I don't think it ever will, because you'll always get fresh people. But I want to put my own spin on it, and I want to make sure I do it properly the way I like to do it. So yeah, I could have jumped on that bandwagon that time when they named that person and gone, right, yeah, but then I would have rushed all the other stuff, and I want to make sure that I visit all the graves as well of the victims, that I can do, of course, to again make it about their story as much as I can from the information I can sort out. It was
found on the show, given as gift. See, the thing is, what makes Jack the Ripper so horrific is the fact that back then, you know, people were so poor, and they had, you know, I mean, we actually, Val and I covered the women of Jack the Ripper, you know, the women's lives, and Mary Kelly, wasn't it, the last one that was literally from top to bottom. I mean, this is someone who hated women so much, hated women, and I mean, they thought he had medical knowledge, or at least because he knew exactly what he was doing. But I mean, when you see the photograph of Mary Kelly, and that was an early photograph, it was horrific.
And this person that they're claiming it is was a barber. So obviously with a barber's razor, there's that. But yeah, they're saying that he was a barber, the person who they believe this DNA.
I can't pronounce the name. I've got to find the name, because we're talking
Aaron
about
Kosminski.
Yeah, that's the one. There's
Aaron
also
Kosminski.
another one as well they're talking about, because the police wrote the letter. The police wrote the letter from was it from Jack? The police have actually they actually said they wrote or someone, or it wasn't the police, it was the press or something like that did it. Aaron Kosminski and Carl Feigenbaum, I think that's the right one, right way. They modern DNA claims and historic police files point, well, and there's also a third one, Montague Druitt. So there's 3 people it could be.
Wow.
I mean, I've got another one of James Maybrick as well.
That's it. And they're also talking about what was the one who did the hotel out in America, Paul, and he buried lots of people in it. I should know that.
What, serial killer?
Yeah, and they reckon they stopped in America and he came here for a while, and that's when Jack the Ripper happened.
Yes, because they were saying that they were going to be the same person, and they came over from the US.
Talking of America, Paul, let's bring in that, because obviously you have travelled out there. What's some of the places that you went to see?
Well, when I was out there filming, I only went to literally sort of 2 places, if you like. That was Salem and Boston. Boston I loved. That had some I wouldn't say their cemeteries were very much like England in a way, but I suppose because it is settlement, isn't it, from the English, like New England and New Hampshire and all that sort of stuff. So theirs was very much like that. I think Salem's was a little bit as well, but Salem's was a bit more like a sort of church. It was a cemetery, but it was more like a churchyard in terms of a few little graves here and there, sort of thing. Again, some old ones out there, not obviously as old as what you get in the UK, but they were pretty cool with me filming out there and stuff. No one sort of said anything, you know. You just go out there and you do your thing. And if any, I found the Americans very friendly and very nice, to be honest with you. You know, I know some people say, but wherever you go in life, you're always going to get a donut, aren't you? So yeah, they were very helpful, and I told them what I was doing and things like that. And they were like, they give you some information about Salem and the witches and all that sort of stuff. But on my to-do list, of course, is to go to the West Coast because I want to go to Forest Lawn, Hollywood Forever. That's where so many celebs are buried. And that's what a lot of my viewers have asked me to do, you know, bless them. My mate Lee set up a GoFundMe a couple of years ago, and it's got £1,000 sat in it. It's still sat there at the moment because it's not quite enough yet, but it's a lot, you know, it's a lot of money. So it's still sat there. So those kind people that have donated, when I'm in a position to obviously add a lot more to it, because it's going to cost quite a few bucks, and I have to go every couple of weeks, get some accommodation and traveling and all the rest of it. So it's going to be more than what I've got there at the moment, but that's
Probably
going to
looking
help
at 4.
massively. Yeah, exactly.
4 or 5, really.
Yeah, I think so. To get sort of like your money's worth and go out there and film the ones you want to, you know, for the channel. So yeah, that's on my to-do list, the West Coast of America. I want to go to Canada because I want to go and film George A. Romero's grave, who made Dawn of the Dead. And he's on he's on the right, the east coast of Canada. That's just right.
I'd like to go and see John Candy's.
Yeah,
because he was I honestly, that man was awesome, and he passed so early. So going back to Salem, did you go to Charter Street Cemetery?
Quite possibly. Can't remember the name of the cemetery.
Colonel John Hathorne, the infamous witch trial judge whose stone is encased in granite. He's also the ancestor to author Nathaniel Hawthorne. They also have Captain Richard Moore, a young passenger on the Mayflower voyage. I
covered Richard Moore's, so I did go to that cemetery,
who lived a long life in Salem. How interesting, on the Mayflower.
Yeah, he was an interesting story, actually. When I saw that he was out there, I did my research, and so that one's on the channel as well. And what's good about Salem as well is, of course, they've got an occult museum, so I was in my element.
I'd be there too with you, yeah.
But it was great, you know.
I could live in Salem, actually. I could live there.
Do you know what? What I found about Salem is it's what you would like over here would be like a little town, but with a great community. But I mean, I went in September, and they were telling me that in October the place just gets swamped. Everyone in their arms just invades it. And the Airbnb I was staying at was directly opposite a cemetery as well, so that was cool. Literally walked out of the house and I was there on the cemetery space. But yeah, that Richard Moore covered his. I went to the judge's house as well, so I went outside there. I covered that all within the story as well. So yeah, it was something that I really enjoyed doing. That sort of thing.
I'd like to go to Tombstone. I would definitely like to go all the Wild West, all that kind of stuff, and see that. I'm drawn to. I'm sure as a guy in a previous life and a cowboy, because drawn to that so much. And they say some of the top celebrity graves in America. The top of the list is Elvis Presley.
Elvis, obviously.
600,000 fans a year. I mean, wow. I mean, I'd love to do that. You know. That would be awesome.
Yeah, he's definitely on my to-do list, Elvis. That would be one grave that, before I went to my grave, I'd like to have said that I've been to, because
got to go to Memphis. I got to go to Memphis. Marilyn Monroe at the Westwood Village Memorial Park. She apparently, lots of lipstick kisses are left with her. Bruce Lee at Lakeview Cemetery in Seattle.
Well, Brandon Lee is next to him, and that's my ultimate grave. Brandon Lee for me is the one. If I died tomorrow and I had choice to go one grave, it'd be Brandon Lee again, because of the film The Crow and all that. And he got shot whilst making it, and I got such an infinity with that. So yeah, but his dad's next to him, and I think there's another actor in the same graveyard called John Saxon, who was the policeman, I think, in A Nightmare on Elm Street, but he was in martial arts films as well with Bruce Lee, and he's in the same cemetery, so that's cool.
Cool. Jim Morrison apparently is the other most popular grave in the cemetery. I'm trying to pronounce his Père Lachaise, probably wrong. Cemetery in Paris. Apparently, massive crowds of rock stars there. For me, Salem, as a clairvoyant, as someone who's done the whole White Witch side of life, for me, it's like, this was a mass hysteria that went on, and it just went out of hand completely. Totally different to the Pendle witch trials, completely different to the one in England. And the one in England was so horrific. I mean, it was terrible what they did to those women, how they were treated. And the Salem ones were completely different. I mean, tell us what you can remember about those witch trials.
It was well, for my, it happened over a very short period. I'm just trying to remember back now again. It happened over a very short period, and there was one guy. I can't remember I talk about it in the video. I can't remember the correct terminology about it, but they sort of like, they called it pressing, I think they called it, where they literally got him on a stool, and they wanted him to admit to being a witch, and if he did, they would kill him quickly, and if he didn't, if he didn't, they would kill him and his family or something like that. It was round the other way. And if he did, then they say, "Oh, we told you so." But he didn't. Apparently, he didn't say a word. They just pressed him. They just kept putting more and more weight on top of him to that slow compression death. And there was a nurse as well that got. Don't ask me their names because I can't remember. It's all in the video. There was a nurse as well that got accused. But a lot of them apparently were just people that were out in the streets that were either having an argument with someone, getting accused of it, or just maybe doing a little bit of health work and helping people, like healers and things like that as well. So there was a lot of bad siding with the judges as well. Like a lot of them were corrupt and sort of doing the wrong thing and getting the wrong sort of backhanders as well from people. It's, again, I apologize for not being so au fait with it, but
I've got to bring up the name of the book because that is going to, I should know it because I said it many times on the Malleus Maleficarium. That was written many years ago by a couple of monks, and you can tell they hated women. Yeah. And that is what they used to prosecute the poor Pendle witch. Now that book then went across, because obviously then you had pilgrims going on the Mayflower out to Virginia, out to Salem, etc., and they took that book, the Malleus Maleficarium. And obviously after that came as I say, King James the First of England, who came up with his own book and how to find a witch and how to prosecute. And I find it horrific as a woman today in 2026. And I wonder, I pray to God that Wiccans and pagans are never persecuted ever again for their faith and belief, because at the end of the day, we have had over the years so much thrown against us. But I just wanted to bring up about the victims of the 1692 Salem witch trials. As you went there in the spring of 1692, the Puritan settlement of Salem was the epicenter, as you know, of panic. And obviously people lost their lives. And the question is, where were Salem's accused witches of being buried? And the absence of marked graves. And you must have seen that. There's no marked graves. And that the truth is that convicted witches were not allowed to receive a proper Christian burial in cemeteries. And there are 19 accused witches who were hanged based on a book and mass hysteria and religion, were left in shallow graves at Proctor's Ledge. Proctor's Ledge, yeah. In some cases, the graves they were put in were so shallow the body parts could be sticking out of the dirt.
Yeah, and some of their families used to go and dig them up and take them away.
At night. And they kept their final resting place a secret. Today, they only know of 2 victims who were removed from the shallow grave and where their final resting place. Rebecca Nurse, did you see hers, Paul?
No, I didn't see hers. But I went to the place where they dug them all up from, Proctor's Ledge. I went there. There's a big memorial stone with all of their names, individual names on there, and plaques on there as well. And you go up there. But again, I think in the video, I say and I'll talk about, again, being sort of empathic and spiritual a lot. And I say in that video that you can feel how heavy that place feels. So yeah, it's I think it's just Salem Witch Trials. I think that's what the video's called on my channel. But if you go there, you can see me go to Proctor's Ledge, and I go where all the memorial stones are, and you'll hear me talking about how heavy it feels within that environment and stuff. But yeah, no, I never found any. But apparently her house, I never saw her house either, but her house is quite nearby. But I wasn't driving. I was bloody walking everywhere, and I covered some distance. It's a big
well, I
area.
mean, the thing is, I'd love to go to Salem, not only for the witchy clairvoyant stuff, of course, but to pay my respects as well. And did you see George Jacobs' grave at all out there?
Oh, can't remember off the top of my head. Sorry.
He owned a farm, and he was described as a tall, toothless, disabled man with long white hair. He was hanged on August the 19th, 1692. His family retrieved the body and buried it on their property, marking his grave with 2 stones. I mean, Pendle, Salem. I mean, when you go, you've got to do Pendle. I mean, because that would be a subject that I'd be really interested to see you do.
Yeah, definitely. And it's one of those things again, though. It's like I say, when I'm doing my research for these places, I take it all in, go and produce my stuff and present it, and then once I'm gone, and it's not through disrespect or anything like that. It's just that I have so many that I do, and
it's difficult to remember everything.
Yeah, it's very difficult, and it's bad because I feel bad when I come on things like this and people ask me, and I'm like, but I know it's all on video, and I know
it's something it's something I need to say to you. Is like when you next go out to America. I know you said Elvis is the place you want to go. In Canada, where are you drawn to? Like historical parts. What is it you're drawn to in Canada?
With me personally, in terms of graves, it would be to see George A. Romero, who directed Dawn of the Dead and all the zombie films. He's on the east. Is Toronto on the east side?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So for that, but in terms of I've always felt a draw to 2 places on the planet: New York, which I've been to twice, and I felt Manhattan, which I felt very comfortable in, and Canada as well. For me, for Canada, I've got a feeling it's because I want that nature. I feel would be my call, if that makes sense. Openness, not too overcrowded. I'm not very good with populous areas. I really struggle. And just having that freedom as well. I know we've all got to work, we've all got to pay the bills, etc., things like that. So I know you don't get that sort of freedom. However, I would like to be able to make sure that when I buy a house, I get my bang for my buck. That I know the cost of living is different in different countries, but when you earn that money and you buy a property out there, you're going to get something with a little bit of land on it that you can have, not because I'm greedy or materialistic, but just for the nature element, just to have that sort of. I haven't got my next door neighbor there,
It is an awesome place, and I hope it doesn't change too much, but it is. And when I went to Head Smashed In Buffalo Jump, which was where First People, as all different names from, but Native Indian First People, where they would drive the buffaloes over, and they would be waiting down for them, and then obviously they would respect them, using everything from them, and thank them and everything for their sacrifice. It's a very interesting place to go because the ground is still stained red. Even the grass has this kind of red look, and they have the vision crest there. You can see, you can't go near it, but it's like, for me, I was really intrigued by that. And so I have this, and I think as I've got older, and I was saying to Sparkle, we were doing this thing the show last week, where do you truly belong? Where are you drawn to? And for me, I always said it was always Canada. And America, it was America first I was drawn to. And people were like, what part is America? And I was like, the Old West, like Grand Canyon, Tombstone, all that area. It was like I was drawn to go there. I was never interested in California and Los Angeles and Florida or anywhere like that. I was drawn there. And I think it's, I sometimes wonder, as we said last week, does our DNA have, our genetic makeup have something from a previous, who knows, or a family connection? Do you know of anyone of your family that's been was out there and could have passed it down to you?
I don't know. I don't think that any of my family have been to Canada per se, because the thing is, we don't know who my dad's dad is, because he like sort of popped up during World War II. Could have been a Canadian sailor. Do you know what I mean? Could be anyone, couldn't it? My dad was born in 1944, so obviously my nan was getting jiggy with it in 1943. Start of 1944. Dad's in October.
God bless her.
So, yeah, bless her. Yeah. So, well, her first husband, well, she only had one husband, but he went down on HMS Hood in 42, I think it was. So she didn't hang around long afterwards. Then my dad popped out. But yeah, and then, but on my mum's side, my grandparents, I think my granddad's parents, one of them was Italian, so that's more sort of European line and things like that. Yeah, so I've not had any real connection on the family tree that I'm aware of from America, Canada, and things like that. But as a kid growing up, like you say, you feel drawn to places, don't you?
You do.
For me, Canada's always been on my I must go there list. I've got to go there list for some reason. And it was weird because I don't know if you remember during the 80s, well, in Portsmouth, obviously, we had Canadian ships come in, and the sailors needed places to eat or stay at your house and all that sort of stuff. And we had 2 Canadian sailors come and stay at our house for a little while. And I just got on with them like that, just clicked with them. And I just it was very relatable, talked about Canada all the time, I was asking them loads of questions and things like that. So, yeah, so I don't know where it comes from, but obviously my essence, my spirit, my soul, whatever, feels like it needs to go there as well for some reason.
I get that.
We were talking, weren't we, last week about, for me it was Canada and you were Copenhagen, and it's like, do you feel drawn to America and as well, Sparky, or Canada? Where are you drawn to?
So for like forever and a day, it's been similar to you, where it's sort of like Wild West kind of Georgia, Virginia sort of area. And then I obviously went to Texas in 2016, and I was like, oh, this is great. This is normal. This is fine for me. Vancouver has always been on my list, always. But it also comes from an acting perspective as well, because there are a lot of things that are created within British Columbia.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite directors are in Vancouver. So I'm like, is it because I'm drawn there, or is it because of that? LA has always been one. New York. But again, I don't know if that is just because of the acting. But I mean, you've seen me in my cowboy boots and my Jeep and so on, and I'm like, well,
it does. It comes natural. And same with me and with you, Paul. So it's like with them, with America, when do you think you'll go out there?
I don't know. I'm obviously, I doubt I'm going to go this year. Probably be next year sometime. But again, I need to go to that sort of California area to go and film these big cemeteries with all the Hollywood stars and things like that. But for me, I don't see that. I never see those sort of places as a holiday as such. When I went to Salem last year, I had to break it up because I wanted to go there as a holiday. But I just go into film mode when I get to these places. And I mean, work, my family was telling me off. You need to chill out, stop bloody filming and enjoy yourself. So I was out there for 5 days, 3 days of filming, and I had to have 2 days for me to unwind because I needed to appreciate it as well. And I needed to, I left the last 2 days, I left my cameras at home, didn't even take the phone, nothing. I left it all at home and I just went off walking and I had the best time ever and actually switched off a bit. So when I go to California, because California doesn't really appeal to me as a holiday sort of place, as in I'm not a sun person, I'm such an autumn person.
No.
This sun's driving me.
Me too.
Crazy.
Yeah, we keep
it.
saying we need to run away.
Yeah, it's doing my nutting. So California, and like you say earlier on, Florida, they don't really appeal to me at all. But the California I must go to for the filming part. Seattle's a bloody I think it's like a 2.5-hour flight northwest
Yeah.
to get to Brandon Lee and Bruce Lee. But then I keep thinking, well, if I go there, I can nip into Canada then. Because it's not far on the border, is it?
It's not
Seattle?
far at all.
Yeah, because like if you know, even if like I remember when I was in Alberta, obviously Calgary,
Yeah.
and Montana's not far underneath, right?
Yeah.
And that's beautiful area. But the thing about Calgary, where I was, there are some amazing graves out there as well, which I didn't realize. No one really talks about Canadian history. No one really talks about, you know, the famous. But if you go out there, there is a lot, and I think you're absolutely enjoy it. And you know what, Paul, you're a storyteller. I think that years ago people used to sit around the fire and tell stories, and that's how stories was passed down through generations. Now we have the internet and YouTube and all that. You're a storyteller. You'll carry on being a storyteller, but there's more to you there, as we've seen, even just with being a celebrant, Captain Jack. What's next for you? What else is going to come up for you, Paul?
My OnlyFans account, I think, to get me to America.
I think so.
Sell pictures of my feet. I don't know. So no, I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know. Different things inspire me. I'm very. I should be part of the bloody magpie family. I'm like, oh, look at that. You know, that's silver. Let's go try. Yeah. So I really don't know. I sort of take a day at a time. You know, I work for the NHS still. That pays my mortgage and my bills and all that sort of crap. But I'm fortunate that I'm part-time, so I've got a really good life balance going on. If I could afford to leave the NHS, I wouldn't a heartbeat, because I hate people telling me what to do. That's my big, as I'm getting older,
just gets worse. It gets worse.
massively. I'm like, you know, you get someone, I'm like, no, can't be asked for that. So yeah, getting worse. I'm gonna be like a moaning old bastard. Like, I don't know what's next. I don't know. I just last time I was on here, I wasn't Jack Sparrow, but now I
know. When I saw that, I was like, no, because the thing is, we talked a lot about unusual things in the previous one, but there's more to you than that, and it's like I wanted to. There are a couple of shows coming up with a couple of people, which I think you would be really awesome on to come on and just give your feedback on it. So I'll let you know about that. But I also think as well, listening to you, it's almost like it comes natural to you as a storyteller. Wicked Women is a storyteller. We are helping to show people or talk about a subject that even if 2 years from now people watch it. I mean, I've been interesting. I've been looking down at some of our shows, and all of a sudden it's like, wow, they've really gone up. So because people have found them like years later, and it's like you're a massive hit when you came on before, and I was like, I've got to bring you back on. Plus, we enjoy having you, Paul.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that, and it's lovely talking to you both again. Well, obviously, Sparky, you for the first time, obviously Wednesday, but it's nice being on the channel anyway, because it's just nice. Because usually I'm hosting my stuff and I'm just doing it, but it's nice just to be not in control of the computer and just sit and chill.
Exactly. Well, my friend Carlene says there's a huge couple of cemeteries out. I know there's a couple, and Michael mentioned it, I think, as well, in Virginia. And that was the other thing. A good question from Rapid, actually, but I'm going to bring this up. Have you ever been to there's a famous pet cemetery, but have you been to a pet cemetery?
No, I haven't, to be honest. I'd like to, because, well, providing if I can get the stories, if they had some sort of significance and a story of some sort, because I think if I just walked around going, there's Fred's rabbit, Roger, people might go, that's a bit boring.
However, in America, they have the famous pets, don't they?
Yeah, if they had a story behind them that I could get out to the viewers, that would be really interesting, So yeah, definitely look into that, 100%.
And do you think you go from a military side? Do you ever go to more sort of military graveyards as well, more military than anything else?
No, because what I try and do is I try and have a balance. So I try and have some true crime stories. some famous people, singers, actors, whatever, from whatever background, and also try and find those ones that may be a little bit unique, that have a different story to tell, that people probably gone, oh, I've heard of them, but I don't really know too much about them. So yeah, but military, I do military ones. I've done loads of Titanic ones, done loads of military ones. There's a few more military ones I'd like to tell their story. I wouldn't need to go up to Herefordshire for that, because there's a couple of special forces ones there I'd like to go and cover. I mean, I had a very, very short military career. It's just under 2 years. So, you know, there's a lot more people that have got valued careers that are warranted, that need a story to be told. I almost sort of like ashamedly talk about mine, because I'm like, I only did 2 minutes. But again, I had an injury and I had to change jobs within the forces, so I wasn't happy, so I just got myself out. So
I'd like to go to see the Queen Mary, actually, because apparently she's quite active, isn't she?
Yeah, definitely, that'd be amazing.
So that's something you should do, definitely. Like, I know there's no graves in there, but I think that would be awesome. So, Paul, I know I have to let you go soon, because we've had so much fun, and you know, we don't like to let you go, but I know you've got to get up in the morning. So thank you once again for coming back and joining us on Wicked Women. And also, we're going to drag you back again, but we may not drag you back for your
Kicking and screaming.
We might just drag you back to be part of another show, because I always like your input. I'm just going to squeeze us over here to a minute and bring up next week's show before we go into it. We have a really good. Maybe you should come back next week, Paul, because you might want to be part of this show next week. It's going to be a corker, right? But I really think you should be part of it. Okay. This is going to be next week's show. Okay.
Hang on, I couldn't look like that if I tried.
Next week's show is called Beyond the Six Pack. What makes a man sexy?
Oh my days! No, I'm not coming on for that. I'll leave that to you girls.
That is going to be next week's show. We've been actually, funny enough, a lot of women have actually asked that, and then this one is the week after that, which is reincarnation, one soul, many lives. So that will be the following show. These are the next 2 shows that are due to come up on Wicked Women. So hopefully maybe you could come and join us. I mean, you know,
I won't join you on the sexy man one, because
damn it,
doesn't fit my remit. And the week after, sadly, well, not sadly, I'm excited, because I'm going to go see Hollywood Vampires, Johnny Depp.
Nice.
I know.
Right.
I'm going to Cardiff.
Cardiff. All right.
I know. So I'm going to go to Cardiff, get drunk, be a rock star.
If you see Johnny, you know, any time, just, you know.
Okay, here's her number.
Yeah. He's a fine-looking man. Johnny Depp, I tell you, my favourite Johnny Depps are obviously Captain Jack. I loved him in Dark Shadows. I thought he was just...
Shadows, Christ, yeah.
It was just
Sleepy Hollow as well. That's good.
And also, I didn't like Sleepy Hollow. Didn't like him in that.
Yeah.
But I also liked him in Edward Scissorhands, because everybody felt for him, didn't they? Did you see that when he was at a Comic-Con recently, and there was he was dressed as Scrooge, and they actually had a guy with the scissors, and he was like, how do you go to the bathroom?
How do you go to the toilet?
Yeah.
I will be
going. He ran off with
I
Captain Jack's compass, didn't he? Grabbed it.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And Willy Wonka's cane as well.
Yeah. He's a little magpie.
I have not been to cinema in years, but I think I may have to go and see Ebenezer when it comes out in Thanksgiving, apparently.
Yes, November, isn't it? Yeah.
He's a brilliant actor. He can do whatever. He can just put his name. What wasn't he? What was the he played? Who was the Indian he played?
Tonto. That was a good film, actually. In Lone Ranger. Yeah. It was a cheesy film, but it was good.
Funny. So funny. But yes, so sadly, Paul will not be joining us next week for Beyond the Six Pack, but you know it's going to be a cheeky one next week. It's going
to be the barrel, it won't be a 6-pack.
I think I'll spend a lot of next week with my head in my hands.
It's going to be cheeky. What makes a man sexy, right? I mean, let's be honest.
You know, we have different ideas, though, on that. We have different ideas on that.
But we
on
are
that
going to
note,
bring up various celebs pictures of like, is this sexy? Is that sexy? What makes a man sexy? Is it his looks? Is it his personality? Is it, you know, his energy? There are so many things. I mean, you know, Russell Crowe dressed as Maximus obviously would be a massive
Fabiola.
Yeah, exactly. So that is next week's show. So please come and join us. Please like, share, and subscribe. We would be very appreciative if you would do that. Wicked Woman, all of us on here, we like a good like, share, and subscribe. So Sparky Night, all being well, we'll be back next week. There'll be 2 more weeks of Wicked Women, and then we have a break just for a week or so before we're back. So Paul, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure, darling. And thank you for the giggle that we had beforehand. It was, I won't tell them what we were talking about, of course. It was very cheeky, wasn't it? It was very, very cheeky.
I did nothing.
I'm just taking the background out, right? So now, and I'm going to end the show. So Sparky, darling, always a pleasure.
As always, my love. As always.
I know. She just compliments me so well. And we just bounce off each other, so it's cool. But yes, see you next week, guys. Have a wonderful week. And in the meantime, she says, trying to find the music. Take care of yourself and each other. Let's bring up the music. It's here. One sec. Here we go.
Keep waving.
Just keep waving until it does.